success story. It comes from a gentleman named Tanner Wendell. He's going to share his story with you all as well. So please give him a hand.
When I was 13 years old, I received the biggest Christmas present of my life. The year was 1999, and the year before that, my parents had sold their agricultural supply business in western Nebraska, where I grew up. That next year was spent with a lot of changes in our family. My sister went to college. My dad reinvested in a farm that was about 2 hours south of us in Kansas. And he also bought an airplane to get us from Nebraska to Kansas. And much like anything my father did, that airplane was a project. It needed a new engine, it needed several repairs, although it got us from Nebraska to Kansas quicker than the vehicle did. My dad and I took several trips in that airplane that year. There was one trip we didn't take together though. It was the day after Christmas, and he said that he just needed to run a few errands. It was just going to be a quick trip. And when he didn't come home for dinner that night, I knew something was wrong. Although my mom didn't seem too concerned about it. Normally she would have been concerned. She didn't seem too concerned. So I let it go. I got ready for bed. I laid in bed tossing and turning, and he still wasn't home. And I moved from my bed to staring out the window. Literally staring out the window, just waiting to see the red and green lights. You guys know the red and green lights on the airplane, right? We lived in a small town. It was a dark sky. Just waiting to see those red and green lights pass over for him to land at the airport. I never saw those lights. My mom came into my room, I don't know, it must have been sometime around midnight, and said, "Tanner, what are you still doing up? You need to go to bed. You got basketball tomorrow." And I said, "Mom, I can't sleep. Something doesn't feel right with Dad not being home." And she said, "I'm sorry, Tanner, your dad's not coming home." And it was at that point that I had found out about the challenges my parents had been having in their relationship. My dad left that day with the intent to not come back home, and they didn't know how to tell me. He came home a week or so later, and I saw him a couple of times throughout those next couple of weeks as he gathered his stuff and he moved out. However, that was a defining moment in my life. 13 years old, my world was completely tipped upside down. And I invite you guys to think about what a defining moment is in your life. I would imagine all of us have something around that age, somewhere from 10 to 14, that something happened. It can be as benign as maybe not getting picked for the basketball team, or something potentially as extravagant as losing a parent or having your family dynamic change. So just sit with that for a couple seconds and think about that. Think about what the first thing is that you remember that changed the shape of your life. So that was a very critical point in my life. 8th grade, last semester, I went into high school with pain to heal, point to prove, no father figure in the house, and I thought I had it all figured out. I started drinking, smoking marijuana, engaging in other promiscuous activities, and that really defined the course of my life for the next decade. I saw and talked to my dad maybe a handful of times in 10 years, was arrested over half a dozen times for drinking underage, driving under the influence, things of that nature. And then it all changed in 2009 when the gal that I was dating at the time told me she was pregnant. We had some challenges in our relationship. I had actually asked her to move out shortly before that time had happened, and that was another defining moment in my life. One that I'm very grateful for, because today I have a fantastic little girl named Emma who is 5, and she's the light of my life. And that is when I started to realize I didn't have a purpose. I didn't know what I was doing. I was checking the boxes of society. I went to college, I got a good degree, I got a good job, I'm going to climb the corporate ladder, I'm doing all of these things. I owned a house, I'm driving a brand new car, right? From the outside, I'm like, hey, everything looks cool. And inside, I was miserable. I was miserable, I was alone, I didn't know what I stood for, and I didn't know how to have a relationship. There was one thing I knew, though. There was one thing that I knew is that I was going to be the father that I didn't have. And that has continued to drive me forward. And in 2013, the mother of my daughter, who I later married, moved out. We separated, and about 2 weeks later, she filed for divorce. Another defining moment in my life. One in which, as unfortunate as it was, I'm very grateful for, because it was later that year that I found P90X3. I had just started working out, going to the gym, having my daughter 50% of the time. I wasn't going to the gym. I started getting depressed. I really didn't have a lot of friends that I could connect with. I did X3, I bought it online, I got a coach, I wasn't drinking Shakeology, and I was committed to it. And I didn't know why, there was something. I had the little tracker app, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm an engineer as well, I'm a numbers guy, and if I had 30 days, I needed to have 30 workouts. And so I was doing it, and I was somewhat resistant to my coach. He and I kept in contact every once in a while. And I finished that program and started connecting with more coaches and started to see what the opportunity was. I drank Shakeology for a week, and it never felt better. Despite everything that I was doing with the nutrition through P90X, I found what was missing. And when I realized that was really the cost of doing business, per se, to be a coach, and that I was going to get a discount on that, I was in. And I was in because I wanted something different in my corporate job. And I thought, okay, well, here's the avenue. And the first year, and I've been a coach just over a year, the first year that's really what I focused on, was the business, I gotta grow this. I'm running from something. I'm running from the pain of my corporate job, and it didn't work out, guys. I'm still at Emerald, and I've switched my mindset at the beginning of this year to focusing on helping people and really being about the people and the results. And my business has grown more in the first 3 months of this year than it did the entire last year when I was focused on becoming diamond and checking these boxes. And again, doing all of the things that I thought I needed to do based on what I saw in society. So for you guys out there, I don't know, what rank you're at, if you're sitting in Emerald. I heard somebody earlier say, well, I'm just Emerald. Great. That you're just a coach. Great. Like you're here, you're doing something. Most people may be sitting at home right now, watching TV, disconnected, not feeling good, whatever the case is. So be proud of yourselves for being here. This is one of the most supportive, positive, uplifting communities that I've found in my life. And it's a community that I will be a part of forever. I don't know where my journey takes me. I have a lot of dreams. I have a lot of goals now that I've started thinking about what the possibilities are within Beachbody. What I do know is that I will be a Beachbody coach for the rest of my life. There's a couple of takeaways that I want you guys to think about, and a couple of things that I learned along my journey in going through my various defining moments. The first one was self-awareness. Within those first 10 years from the age of 14 to 24, I had no idea who I was. I had no idea how I was acting and behaving was coming across in society, what the impact of that was. I thought, hey, if I'm not hurting anybody physically, no damage is being done here, right? I was wrong. There's a lot of people that I look back on my journey that I impacted in one way or the other. Relationships that I crushed, family members that I soured, a variety of things. So be aware. That was really the first thing for me, was getting a sense of awareness and who I was and how I was showing up and what that was doing. And it's based on results. I had to come faced with the truth that I'm in a divorce, I've had these challenges, I'm in debt, all of these things because of my actions and my thoughts and my beliefs and my actions. It's nobody else's, it was mine. And one of the major things that helped me with that was personal development. And that's one of the things, right? One of the 3 vital behaviors, right? We hear about it all the time, and I didn't even know what that was, right? Oh, the shelf help books, and never opened my mind to that until Beachbody and until getting involved with a company called PSI Seminars that really helped me open up and look at who I am and accept that I've gotten myself thus far and I can make a different choice to go a different direction. The second thing I learned about is relationships. We're in a relationship business. As I've mentioned, I obviously have destroyed a lot of relationships along the way, and I've also restored a lot. My ex-wife and I have a great relationship now, better than we did when we got married. I now have a fantastic relationship with my father, who I didn't talk to for over 10 years. We spent, I don't know, an hour on the phone yesterday after he was done with his event and I was done with my event, just catching up on things, talking about seeing each other over Memorial Day and 4th of July. Never saw him for over 10 years. My choice. The thing that I've learned out of that, though, is that we only have one relationship in our life, and it's a relationship with ourselves. So think about that. Think about how the relationship is with yourself and how that comes across to other people. We're in a relationship business. You owe it to the people that you're dealing with and that you're serving to have a good relationship with yourself so you can have a good relationship with them. And the third thing I realized, the importance of physical and mental health. And I don't think you can separate those two. And I didn't realize that before. My now ex-wife had some mental health challenges that I never truly understood, and I categorized that as why the relationship didn't work and things being all her fault. And I realize now with my own struggles that I've had that the physical and the mental are tied together. I didn't start feeling better about myself until I started working out. And on days that I don't work out, I don't feel like talking to people about working out. And on days that I'm not eating good, I don't really feel like talking to people about eating good. I get in my own little cycle. I'm depressed. So I don't see how you separate those two. So I would just invite you to think about that as well and what you're doing in your daily routine and how that's supporting your awareness, the relationships that you have, and your mental and physical health, because you need to be whole and healthy to help all of the other people that you want to help. Thank you.